God Eternal Oketra versus Grand Arbiter Augustine IV. That is a very tricky hand. If this was a Plains, then I'd probably risk it. But we're going to be paying into tax effects with this commander anyway, so I think we just have to get rid of that. And while I mulligan, actually, as of the time of this recording, Wizards have announced that the London Mulligan will be coming back and sticking around for all Magic the Gathering formats, which I'm actually happy about because I did like the London Mulligan. Decided to keep this because Plains on top. Yeah, we can draw into another mana next turn. I think our only way out of this hand and out of this deck is by generating a lot of mana. Okay, that's a draw, so let's go for... I don't like going for spiky plays like this, but seeing as how our opponent is running a Grand Arbiter Augustine deck, I'm just going to wasteland that white mana. Might go for the Sol Ring onto the Enlightened Tutor just to get really ahead of our opponent. And they may be holding up counter magic here, but we'll just have to risk it and see. We get into a Plains. They know about the Sol Ring, so we'll get that going. And we won't get down the Mana Crypt yet because we can't cast anything with it, and I think they might play around what mana we have right now, maybe in the hope that we don't make another land, and certainly in the hope that we don't go for Mana Crypt. Alright, so that is 2, 4, 6, 7 mana we've got here. Let's go for our commander, and if they've got counter magic, then so be it. No, they don't, so that's really good. If they had counter magic there, I think they would have used it, and it looks like that wasteland was really good for us. But they get into a Plains anyway, so their commander may come down here. White spells our opponent casts cost a generic less to cast, the same is true of blue spells. And spells that we cast cost a generic more to cast, so this tends to be like a prison tax type deck. We could go for Duplicant onto our opponent's Grand Arbiter, and that will get us into a zombie as well. Okay, Cloudstone Curio. This is another permanent, isn't it? Yes, it is. So what have we got here? 2, 4, 6 and 7. That's just enough for Duplicant, so I say we go for that. That will allow our God Eternal Oketra to swing in, and obviously giving us a zombie warrior as well. And our opponent scoops there. Yeah, another quick one. Having a few quick games this recording session. So I dare say you've got another game coming up. God Eternal Oketra versus Combo General Arcum Dagson. We have no land, so we cannot keep that. But a Sol Ring, a couple of lands, a Clamp, and a Walking Atlas. I doubt a Rescos Explorer is going to be too much use to us, but we can ramp with the Walking Atlas. So let's get that down straight away. And then once we're done ramping with it, we can clamp it, so might not be the worst hand that we could have kept. A Rescos Explorer isn't quite as good when we're on the play, because it's not likely that our opponent will get ahead of us on lands unless we really are missing land drops. Okay, a Mana Vault for our opponent. And they get straight into, Voltaic Key. So that is a lot of mana they can already generate. And a Palladium Mere, so they have all the colourless mana they could need by the end of turn 1. That's actually a better start than we've gotten off to. Okay, let's get down a Plains with the Walking Atlas. And then play a Plains, and whilst our opponent is tapped out, let's get down God Eternal Oketra. This is a 3/6 double strike zombie god in mono white. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you get a 4/4 black zombie with vigilance. So no matter what happens on the land front, I think we're going for Oreskos the Explorer next turn. And I think it's actually time to clamp the Walking Atlas as well. This is really in here for when we get a bunch of lands off of land tax or the Boreas Charger. And then we can just play 2 lands a turn effectively with the Walking Atlas. But it did allow us to get into God Eternal Oketra on turn 2 this game. And of course, our opponent has a Mana Crypt as well as Mana Vault, because why wouldn't they? They've gotten into Thoughtseize, which is draw 2 cards, and a Basalt Monolith as well, yeah. Of course you do. Untapping the Mana Vault with the Voltaic Key, and probably going for Arcum Dagson here, so we're both off to a fast start. The problem is Arcum Dagson is pretty much going to tutor for anything they want. Tap, target artifact creature's controller, sacrifices it and searches for a non-creature artifact and puts it onto the battlefield. If we could remove the Palladium Mirror, then that would help us, because then they wouldn't be able to go after their combos that they need. Well, there's another land. Let's go for Skull Clamp first of all. We'll clamp the Walking Atlas. Perhaps should have used that actually. We should have tapped that down to get this Arid Mesa into play, because we could draw into another land here. But we don't, luckily. We might draw into one off Wall of Omens. Now, Fiend Hunter. Our opponent has a lot of mana, so do we want to Fiend Hunter their commander or the Palladium Mirror? I think we just swing in at our opponent first. I don't think they're going to block here, but they might. Yep, they're just letting it through like we thought they would. Now, are we going to draw a card into a land off the Wall of Omens? I'm not going to risk it. Let's just go for the Fiend Hunter. We'll get ourselves into a zombie for casting a creature. And then we'll go after Arcum Dagson, just in case our opponent has another artifact creature in hand. This way they have to recast their Arcum Dagson, and it will have Summoning Sickness on it. And even if they can bounce the Fiend Hunter back to our hand... Yeah, so I think they're going to bounce Fiend Hunter back to our hand and get Arcum Dagson straight into play again under their control. Now, it will come back in with Summoning Sickness if they do that, plus the fact that we'll be able to recast the Fiend Hunter and just do it again and get a zombie out of the deal. They've only got 2 cards left in hand, so yeah, it'd actually be really good to get into a Lightning Greaves so that we could protect the Fiend Hunter. I don't think that's likely. And just generating a bunch of mana with the Voltaic Key and Mana Vault combo. And is that a Cyclonic Rift? They had 7 mana tap then. Nope, it's a duplicate. So that gets around our Fiend Hunter. Yeah, we can't sack that, so we just have to give our opponent back their commander. And they did have another artifact creature in hand, by the way, so it was correct to go for the Arcum Dagson there. Yeah, they've got a couple of artifact creatures to get rid of with their commander. Alright, let's just crack the Arid Mesa and go in for a Skull Clamp. And we just get into another Plains. Let's draw with the Wall of Omens. A Thalia is another zombie at least. But I think it's a little bit too late for Thalia. That might have really thrown a spanner in the works for our opponent, because creatures and non-basic lands enter the battlefield tapped. But I think we just haven't been fast enough here. We can't clamp anything, so let's just go for a wide attack on our opponent. Now, it might be that our opponent can just win next turn, we'll see. They can kill off one of their artifact creatures and get a non-creature artifact straight into play. So, worst case scenario, we see Arcum Dagson combo off here. Oh yeah, and I forgot about the Thornbite Staff. I mean, we couldn't have done anything about this anyway, but this is a combo with the Arcum Dagson. Yeah, they go straight in for Mycosynth Lattice, making everything an artifact. So Arcum Dagson, every time it sees a creature die, it will untap, and our opponent can just grab whatever they want. So they've gone in for Darksteel Forge, making all artifacts indestructible. And then it is a Nevinyrral's Disc. They can untap that with the Voltaic Key, and that will destroy all of our permanents, because it destroys all artifacts, and all of our permanents are now artifacts, including the lands, thanks to the Mycosynth Lattice. Our opponent won't lose any of their permanents because all of theirs are indestructible. Now, our only out here is to hope that the Mana Crypt bolts our opponent to death, so we'll just carry on playing quickly here and see if we can have our opponent lose to Mana Crypt. They have to win before Mana Crypt bolts them to death, and they can only take one more bolt from the Mana Crypt, so they might have a means of getting a non-creature artifact into play that can get rid of Mana Crypt. What is that? Sacrifice an artifact, yeah, so they can go one tap, sack an artifact to draw a card, and that gets the Mana Crypt off the table. And as far as I'm aware, there are no mono white burn spells, so I think that is us done. They're not going to keep their Mana Vault tapped to ping them, so all they have to do here is keep on destroying our board with Nevinyrral's Disc for a single mana and a tap. So our only out there was to go for the Mana Crypt, but unfortunately our opponent got into the Palladium Mere. They could sacrifice it to get their trading post out. So that's a good game to our opponent. We got them quite close though. Had we have dealt a little bit more damage to them, I mean in fact 2 damage more to them, then perhaps we would have won that one, but it wasn't to be this time. God Eternal Oketra losing out against Arcum Dagson. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.